you considered the messages your outfits send? What do you think your clothes say about you? See, style is about the clothes, but it's not really about the clothes. Every day you make choices about what you're going to wear, but what are you communicating? Welcome to Above and Beyond Style. I'm your host, Maria DiLorenzo, and in 2019, I founded MFD Style, where I provide a unique, intuitive approach to personal styling for those ready to embrace a more meaningful look. With this podcast, I'll uncover key elements of where spirituality, psychology, and style intersect, revealing how you can make intentional wardrobe choices that reflect who you really are. So let me ask you, are you ready to transform into your authentic self? Then it's time. Come with me on this journey, and together we'll take your style above and beyond style. Hey everyone, welcome back to Above and Beyond Style. This is season 3 where I am talking about lots of different things that get us off track from our authentic style. I'm having a lot of fun this season walking through some of these concepts, ideas, because it's giving me the food for thought even as I'm going back into my wardrobe and really doing some editing and refining and really thinking about, what clothes really are reflecting like the best version of me. Lots of these topics are helping even me get a little clearer about how and why sometimes our style can get distracted or a little off track or, kind of fall into that pitfall that leaves us with a wardrobe where we're not resonating or we're not feeling really connected to it. So I want to continue the conversation this week and talk to you about what I coined this term, the multiples shopper. So this is someone, and maybe you resonate with this, but this is someone who is a repeat buyer of the same item. So let's say you find one, wash of a pair of jeans and you really love the fit and the style. And so you buy that same pair of jeans in multiple washes, maybe a white, maybe a black, maybe a dark denim and a light denim, right? So you have 4 of the same item. Or let's talk about tops. I see this a lot with kind of the basics in people's wardrobe. So maybe it's in tanks or t-shirts or some of the basic layering pieces like a turtleneck, where I will see the one item, but then they have it in 4 or 5 different colors, right? Now remember, there is nothing inherently wrong with being a multiples shopper. But what I want you to really think about as I'm walking through this episode is how it can sometimes be like the slippery slope that can get us to a wardrobe of clothes and a bunch of items that maybe aren't really resonating with who we are and where we see ourselves going with our style. Because I psychologically really understand the why behind the multiples shopper. If you love a particular color or a fit in a certain garment, you're like, why wouldn't I love it in these other 3 colors that they make it in, or these other 3 washes that it's made in, right? So it's conceptually makes a lot of sense as to when you find one thing that really works for you, and believe me, it's not always easy, right? To find the thing that's perfect. So when you find the perfect thing, I think it's really logical to want to assume that more of that same item is going to be just as good or better. And what I hear from a lot of my clients when I ask them about multiples and sort of why they have found themselves now with, a closet full of multiples, here are some of the things I hear from them. First of all, I hear that they want a backup if this one that they love the most gets damaged. So I do sometimes see the same white t-shirt. They've bought now 2 of the exact same one so that they can kind of keep a rotation, because if it's something that they're wearing a great deal in their wardrobe and maybe you want to wear it multiple times a week, sometimes it's in the wash. And so it's nice to have 1 or 2 to alternate between them. or if something happens to that one, so it gets a tear or a stain of some kind, or there's something wrong with the discoloration, then they want to have the backup to be able to kind of replace the one that they've loved the most. Again, logically, that makes total sense to me. And I would really want to challenge the thought about the backup. And I've done this before. I've had like one of my very favorite gray t-shirts. And sometimes grays can be like the hue can be hard to really nail down. Sometimes it can wash you out. Sometimes it's got like more of a deep saturated kind of tone to it. So I found this one t-shirt. This is years ago. And it was by Topshop of all places, from Nordstrom. And I got this tee. It was like a really nice fitting tee. It washed and wore really well. And I found myself reaching for it multiple times. And so I bought a second one because I thought, well, what if something happens to this one? I want to make sure that I have the backup. And I'm going to tell you the true story. I almost very rarely wore the second one. Like I had it always kind of as the backup, and maybe there was the occasional time where the one was in the wash. And so I went to grab the second one. But I would say, as I really look hard at my behavior and how often I wore that shirt, one would have probably just sufficed for me. And I'm being really honest with you about I had the same psychological kind of thought about, what if something happens to this one I love? I'd like to have the backup to replace it. The other thing that happens sometimes with, when you're buying multiples, and again, I have had this happen to me, so I'm telling all my true stories here, that we fear that the retailer will stop making it, right? So we've found the thing that is so great. It fits us so well. We love the color. We love the style. And so if for whatever reason this retailer stops making this particular garment, you might be really sad because it's something that you really loved and you really liked to wear. So you bought multiples of it to kind of, again, have it in case it somehow is no longer available for you if the ones that you were wearing, get damaged or stained or outgrown or whatever. And I'll tell you, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this phenomenon the other day, because I don't know if this happens to any of you who shop Lululemon, but Lululemon, it's very funny. We were having a good conversation about, I have often found that I will fall in love with a particular style. And what comes to mind is there was this pair of running shorts, and I used to be a really active runner. I did half marathons for a long time and 5Ks and 10Ks. And so I was running pretty consistently. And so the running gear and the quality of the running gear and the fit really matter. For anybody that runs knows that your gear matters. So I found these running shorts and they were absolutely perfect. And I had bought two pairs, one in black and one in a pattern. And I wore the heck out of them constantly because they were just such a good pair of shorts. Now, Lululemon is infamous for stop making the exact same garment over time. They don't necessarily do that. And I used to find that, I actually probably still find this a little frustrating, because if those shorts, I eventually did wear them out or they got to be a little snug or something, and I wanted to buy them again, Lululemon didn't make them anymore. So it's very frustrating if that happens with a retailer when we find the thing we love. And my friend and I were discussing that Lululemon might be one of those brands that it almost doesn't matter, because while it did disappoint the customer, and it probably does frustrate the customer when they stop making the thing that people love, there's enough demand and consumer investment in their brand that it almost doesn't matter that people get frustrated or annoyed, because they'll just try something else or come back again. They must have done some market research on this. I don't have any expertise in this. If you're a Lululemon person and know the ins and outs and maybe some of the decision making behind this, let me know. I would love to know, because I do find this interesting. In that particular retailer, they stopped making the things I love. Anyway, so I can see that's why people would buy multiples, because the retailer can and often will stop making that exact garment or that item. So we buy more. And it's interesting because in this process of like having more than one of an item, I mean, it makes logical sense then that it creates more volume in your wardrobe, right? So you had the one shirt, but now you bought it in the other, four colors that it was made in. And to me, sometimes what I find for people that are multiples shoppers, that it creates like unnecessary volume in their wardrobe. And so they have a lot of clothes and they're sort of sorting through and sifting through like stacks of tank tops and t-shirts and jeans and whatever that they're buying multiples of. And I'm finding sometimes that in that process, sometimes when people are buying the multiples, because of that volume, they don't even realize that they already own the garment. So, for example, I have worked with clients who, when we were doing a closet edit, we were going through all of her t-shirts. She loved a long sleeve tee. And she wore them a lot. She wore them as layering under sweaters and by themselves in the spring and fall. So she had a lot of long sleeve tees. So we came across this pile of her long sleeve tees and we were going through them. And I came across, these brand new ones with tags still on them. And she had literally in a like shopping bag in the room with us had already purchased the same garment. So not only did she have like the original one that she was wearing, and then she had bought a backup, right? So she had the one with the tags in her wardrobe. She then went out the third time and bought this same garment because she knew she really liked it and wore it all the time, but she'd forgotten that she already had that particular garment in that size or in that color in her wardrobe. So sometimes when people are multiple shoppers, I find that this volume issue then creates problems because they can't keep track of like how many they already have, or do I have it in that color already? Or, oh, I think I maybe already bought that wash, or, right? So there's kind of this unnecessary volume that gets as a result of that type of shopping. So I have some questions if you're a multiple shopper. And again, remembering this is one of those potential pitfalls that can get us to a closet of clothes where perhaps we're just not resonating as much, or we're not feeling as connected to our wardrobe and it doesn't feel as authentic to us. So I want to ask you, if you happen to be a multiple shopper, do you actually wear all of the other colors or alternate washes or, etc. that you bought more than the original that you purchased? And I'm finding when I've asked that question to clients, they will say, I probably still just wear the original color that I bought the most, but it's kind of nice to have these other alternatives for something as variety, but truthfully, they're probably not wearing as often as the original garment. And I just offer that because is it then necessary for you to have those alternative colors or washes in your wardrobe if you're not even really wearing them as often? Now, the other question I want to ask you is, why do you think you feel like having more of that garment would be useful in your wardrobe? Now, remember, this might go back to wanting to have the backup or being afraid that the retailer might stop making it, those kind of, I get that kind of thought process. But there's also something about if I have more of this item, there must be some sort of utility in that, like that it's going to be more useful for you in your wardrobe. And I wonder if then it's that some people might believe that it makes it simpler to get dressed, because if they've got 4 of the same item, again, different colors or different fits or washes, then perhaps it helps them feel like where they're narrowing down in some way because they've got it really kind of locked into this particular style, but it's in these 4 different colors. I hear a lot from clients about decision fatigue, just in general in their life, right? The number of decisions that we have to make on any given day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, it's astronomical. And when we have like the priority of the variety of decisions we have to make over the course of a day, sometimes I wonder if the wardrobe, is one of those things where people are like, can it just be easy? Can I just not have to spend a lot of time thinking about what I should put on my body and how I should set myself up for the day? And believe me, I really believe that like, I don't necessarily want to stand in my closet for 15 minutes and hem and haw over what works with this and how do I make that happen and does this go, and right. So sometimes the multiple shopper, I think it can help with decision fatigue, because if we found something that works and we have some variety of it in colors or washes or whatnot, then we can just draw from that to kind of create different outfits. But it's sort of creating almost like a uniform for some people. And I do think that that is really effective for some folks and their lifestyle and sort of what they're working with through the day. So if your thought process about having more in your wardrobe is to simplify, I know that sounds a little like counterintuitive, but like to simplify so that it makes getting dressed easier, then I can really support that. But I sometimes find when the multiple shopper is standing there with the volume. So remember, now we have more items in our wardrobe because we've bought multiples. I sometimes think that volume really overwhelms us. And I do find then that clients will give me the feedback that they're like, I almost feel like it's just too much. Like I have too many things in my wardrobe to keep track of. So even though I've got a variety, I'm actually not really pulling from those multiples and wearing them as often to create that simplified outfit. So do you see where this can be like a little bit of a catch-22 for people? And I want to help you if you find yourself sort of overwhelmed at volume. The multiples shopper, I think sometimes is the reason why there is a lot of volume. And so I want to help you think about what are some strategies that might help you counteract some of this. If you find yourself being a multiple shopper, and again, not like anything wrong in and of itself about doing this behavior. I just want you to see sort of how it can lead to a closet that may not be serving you. So what I would recommend is on a seasonal basis, do a little inventory of your wardrobe to help keep track of what you already have. So in that instance where the woman had already like purchased for the third time the long sleeve shirt, she would have known that she already had her backup. Like she already was good with the garment and that option that she wanted, because if she kept kind of track or inventory of what she had, perhaps that would have allowed her not to have purchased then the third one. So I do think that this kind of helps us stay kind of on top of the clothes that we have. And I find for so many folks that I do closet reviews with, sometimes the like back deep dark corners of the closet, like the things that are just way back there that are just never seeing any love or light. Like it's hard if you don't know what's back there, what options you even have. And so that inventory in general, whether you're a multiple shopper or not, but I think the inventory kind of concept can be really helpful so that you can do a little edit each season and know like, oh yeah, okay, maybe my white tees really are looking pretty worn and torn and they're discolored under the arm or whatnot. So it might be the right time to then reinvest in some new pieces for this season. And I do think then it would help if the items that you have are still in good condition, then you don't necessarily need to purchase the multiples because you've got sort of what you need and it's already covered. And I would say in general that sometimes having multiples in your wardrobe can stifle creativity. It's my real firm belief that I want clothing to be a source of inspiration and perhaps delight for you when you start your day, even if it's for like 3 minutes, like when you're like selecting the item, putting it on your body and like getting yourself pulled together for the morning. I would love you to have the freedom to experiment with your clothes and to try different combinations. And I think sometimes when people are multiple shoppers, again, this goes back to like the uniform, which I'm not inherently against, but I think sometimes it can stifle the creativity and the joy of how some variety and just difference in your wardrobe can create different energy and different enthusiasm and perhaps inspire confidence or momentum for your day. And so if you're finding that multiples are sort of, I don't know, kind of they're kind of boring and you're tired, I wonder sometimes then if that multiple strategy is stifling maybe some variety and creativity that you need in your wardrobe. Now, the last thing I'll say to just help you really get kind of like wrap your brain around this concept of the multiple shopper is, again, I would go back to what I think I mentioned in last week's episode, is about that scarcity mentality. That if I have this one, then it's good for me to have 2, 3, 4, 5 more of this exact item, because I'm afraid that, I won't, the retailer will stop making it. I won't have this one anymore. So I want to have the replacement, right? So that scarcity mentality, it can get us in kind of a tricky place sometimes. So I just want us to be thoughtful and intentional about the times when we're making those choices about buying more than one of the same item. Are we doing it for reasons because we actually are wearing it all the time, or it's actually fundamentally like a really good source in our wardrobe for, creativity and inspiration, and we're feeling connected to that item? Or are we only just buying it more because we're like worried that, more won't be available to us? Which, again, if I haven't already shared with you, just know that every season, sometimes multiple times throughout the season, retailers are always releasing new items. So the mere fact that maybe that one exact item may not be made anymore, but there will be alternatives, right? And maybe you'll be looking for something a little shorter or longer, or the sleeve length a little different, or maybe the fabric content, you're really trying to move more toward natural fibers, which I would be a proponent of, right? So there's lots of different ways that we can adjust and pivot within our clothes. And sometimes having that scarcity mentality about, I won't have enough if I don't get this in multiples, can lead us down kind of a slippery slope with our wardrobe. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you are continuing to consider some of these ways that you can have a wardrobe that may not be serving you or that is challenging you at the moment. And if you are a multiple shopper, just recognize that sometimes editing throughout the season can be really helpful. So again, remembering that like inventory and really giving yourself the time to keep track of the clothes that you have, and allowing yourself just the freedom to know that like it's okay if this exact item doesn't get made anymore, or that if this exact item gets damaged, there may be an alternative for you in another way. So thanks again for listening, everybody. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Hey there. I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you more about MFD Style, my wardrobe consulting business. I've been styling professionally for nearly 15 years, and it truly is my life's passion and purpose. In fact, my mission is to help you develop a confident and authentic signature style, breathe life into your existing wardrobe, and help you fill in with perfect, versatile pieces that are in line with your style and budget. And yes, all of this can be done both in person or virtually. This experience can transform your life. I have seen it happen countless times. And all you have to do is take that first step. Set up a free 30-minute consultation call with me, and we can start this journey together. You deserve to have a wardrobe that mirrors who you are, and I am so ready to help make that happen. You can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed what you've heard, I would appreciate you taking the time to leave a review on the podcasting platform you're using and share this episode with others who you think might really enjoy these conversations about personal style. For more information all about MFD Style services, you can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com, on Instagram at mfd_style, where I post almost 5 days a week, or send me an email at maria@mfdstyle.com. I also have a weekly email I send to subscribers, so I will include the link to that sign up in the show notes. So until next time, friends, remember to love yourself and then love yourself some more.